I think there are a lot of people across America that are still wondering on some level why January 6th got as bad as it did. When apparently, I mean, look, there was public conversation for at least a week, if not two, about people going there. And behind the scenes, we know that there was even more intelligence about how people were organizing, and it could get a little bit serious, and it certainly did. One man who admittedly knows a lot about January 6th, has an idea of why it got that bad. Unfortunately, it's Donald Trump, but here is what he said in one of his official pronouncements. The highly partisan Unselect Committee is just a sideshow to distract America from massive failures by Biden and the Democrats. What happened to the Capitol would have never happened if the people in charge did their job and looked at the intelligence. They abandoned the officers on the ground, just like Biden abandoned Americans in Afghanistan. Instead of holding bad leaders accountable, the Democrats are going after innocent staffers and attacking the Constitution. Now look, the fact that he thinks it's everybody else's fault is not gonna surprise a lot of people. The only thing that kind of stood out to me that I thought was interesting about that is that he says, if the people in charge did their job, he was president when it happened. He was in charge, and we know that he did nothing. More importantly, we know why he did nothing. And that is what I hope people never forget. Why he was just sitting and watching as it all went down on the 6th. But I love the idea that he says the people in charge, as if he was just some guy sitting in his apartment in Nashville watching it on TV. He had a slightly more attached position. Nina, what are your thoughts?
I mean, he's never taken responsibility, so I'm not surprised. What you read from Mr. Trump is classic Mr. Trump. Deflect, deflect, deny, lie, deflect, deny, lie, deflect, deny, lie. I mean, that's his expertise, that's his gift.
In that order.
Yeah, did I get the order right? But that's what he does. And guess what? Some people believe that stuff he's saying. You know, look at the man in the mirror, baby. That's it. You are responsible for what happened. And certainly, if not all of it, you're responsible for not using your authority as the leader of this country, of the free world, to stand up to these folks and tell them to stand down. But what did he tell them? What did he tell them? Stand by? Well, no, that was another message.
Oh, that was for the Proud Boys.
That was to the Proud Boys. But classic Trump, just stand back and stand by. And that's what he did. He stood back and he stood back, he stood by, and he allowed all of that to continue. And even to this day, obviously, deflect, deny, lie.
That's true. I think technically it's person, woman, man, deflect, deny, lie, camera, TV. I think that's the actual order. That's a t-shirt there. And by the way, the stand back to the Proud Boys, there were plenty of Proud Boys at the January 6th. You're not wrong about that. But anyway, I want to give you a little bit more inside information. So this is coming out of ABC's Jonathan Karl. He's got a book coming out and he talks a little bit about what happened on the 6th. And the reason I want to keep this alive is there's been no accountability. We technically have a January 6th commission, right? We had months of debate about setting it up. They finally get it. And so far, we really don't know any more than we did about some of the lingering questions about the tours that people apparently gave of the Capitol. Was it Cori Bush that talked about the panic button in her room that had been disconnected? I don't recall, but we certainly haven't gotten any information about that. Who was called and when, who tried to get Trump to intervene. But anyway, the one thing that he did do is, you might recall that late in the afternoon, he released that video where he technically asked people to go home. He said that you're very special and I love you, you deserve a lot of love. But he did release that video. And here's what ABC's Jonathan Karl's sources revealed about that. So Trump boasted about the size of the crowd that gathered on January 6th, and he was enthralled as he watched his supporters, fueled by his election lies, as they rioted through the Capitol in an attempt to overthrow his defeat. The book says Trump argued with aides in the White House's private dining room as they tried to get him to call off the riot. When Trump finally agreed to release a video statement, Karl reports that the video had to be re-recorded, quote, several times before they got it right. And in earlier rejected versions, Trump neglected to call on his supporters to leave the Capitol. which might seem like a small change, but that was the only point of the video. Like it was, you're very special, I love you, and please leave. If you leave out the please leave, that's just egging rioters on. But he tried to have that be the video that they were going to release as the rioting was still happening, as our lawmakers were still fleeing for their lives. Cops were being beaten, some were being injured enough that they would eventually succumb to those wounds, they would die. And so again, like this is a source. We can't say 100% for sure that it's true, but according to what they're saying, he did not want to call them out of the Capitol on the 6th.
Yeah, no surprise there. And if it is true, that is equivalent to Trump, going to do that video, just winking. Please leave, wink, wink.
Yeah,
it's not surprised. The man is a megalomaniac, a narcissist. Pick the the label, but it is really all about him. And it's his position in the universe, and that's really all he cares about. And those people were truly feeding his ego that day. And the consequence, as you just laid out, people dying, people getting hurt. But he didn't really care because it has always been, and it will always continue to be seemingly all about Donald J. Trump and the hell with everybody else. Obviously, January 6th was one painful example of that fact. And John, I want to say, look, if these investigations, to your point, they're not gonna go anywhere. Stop playing games and wasting taxpayers' dollars. We can use that money for something else. Now, on that, I'm fed up about. If it's gonna inform us to do something different, to do things better moving forward, to try to prevent something like that from ever happening again as best we can, then fine. But if we just wasting time, wasting the taxpayers' money, is this just an exercise just to say, check this off the box, then we need to do something else with the time and the money.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree, and regrettably, as with so many things, we don't have a direct control over it. But I can at least say what I want. I want to get answers, but I agree. I don't have a lot of faith that we're going to. They're not going to comply. Like his top aides aren't going to talk, and they can talk about how they're going to like give him charges if they don't work with them. They're not going to give him charges, and so sometimes I just want like. It was very bad. It was very important. We don't have answers. And I wonder sometimes if I should just move on, just give it up. I mean, they're not, like they've got their martyr coming out of that. They're building the groundwork to challenge every election we have for the rest of their lives. But anyway, I think about that from time to time. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.